Alright, let me expose my insecurities here, right here on camera. I'm insecure about my weirdly shaped nose. I still cannot connect this beard at the big age of 22. I'm still kind of insecure about my skinny girly wrists and my unnecessarily long orangutan arms, which you probably can't tell on camera. I also subconsciously suck in my stomach because I used to have the insecurity that other people would think that I was fat through my shirt, when in reality I was super skinny back then. And I'm also insecure about the way I come across on camera because I can't lie, I am a bit of a nerd and I don't know how people would react to that. And there you go. I've pretty much listed my insecurities within 30 seconds or so. Now to you, you may be thinking that I'm kind of overreacting on some of those things, but that's the thing, right? Because there are also probably some things that you're also insecure about, like the way your face looks, or the fact that you wear glasses and you fear how you may come across to other people, or even the fact that whether people notice that bit of fat around your stomach. And the thing is, a lot of us are overthinking so much about our own insecurities when in reality, everyone else is doing the same thing, caught up in their own self-doubt. And it's just interesting for me to think that people that we think that are confident from the outside looking in are actually riddled with so many insecurities that never see the light of day. And let me give you a couple of examples. That guy in the gym who is jacked out of his damn mind, who you think is confident, but whenever someone asks him to take his shirt off, he is a bit hesitant to show off his gains because he fears that people may not respect him because he's not big enough. And there's probably a deeper psychological reason as to why he feels the need to hide his body from the world. He's potentially trying to protect himself from the fear of judgment and rejection that he may have experienced when he was younger. And what about that man who is the managing director of a top company, who's making well over 6 figures a year, who's managing clients and leading projects? Well, surely he's confident, right? Well, the main motivator as to the reasons as to why he climbed the corporate ladder in the first place was to prove more to himself and to other people that he was worthy of respect, as he feels this need, this inadequacy, that he is kind of nothing without his success in the corporate world. Okay, even the hot Victoria's Secret model that you're idolizing, well, she's got crippling insecurities on whether someone will truly love her for her. And she can't help but notice the wrinkles on her face every time she walks past the mirror, which may not even exist, by the way, as her mind is playing tricks. And unrealistic beauty standards is something that I'll get into later in the video. The thing is, it's quite easy to fall into the trap of assuming that someone else has it better than you, when in reality, we don't actually know what's truly going inside their brain, as everyone has been dealt a different hand. And so our view of the world is quite limited, as we end up basing our truth based on our experiences and our own versions of the truth about the world. And in some cases, this unfortunately manifests into the real world in the form of projecting our insecurities onto other people. And I know this because, see, I did a lot of damage psychologically, and without even realizing it, I ended up projecting my own insecurities in the past to other people and hurt them in the process. And I am certain that I've messed up people's self-images and created insecurities. And this happened a lot when I was in my late teens, when I would react with anger and negativity whenever someone would touch on any of my insecurities. Bro, I had a lot of psychological issues I had to address. But thankfully, I've done a lot of the inner work, so this is incredibly rare to happen. And it may be a little bit confusing for someone that's watching on the other side of the screen, or someone that actually knows me in real life, as I don't think I rarely ever give off this sort of angry vibe, as I'm usually in my own world half the time. But that angry part of me is still there, and it's sort of this biological demon I have to tame constantly. The good news is, just like anger and negativity can spread, so can compassion, being real and genuinely positive. It's like a conscious effort I tend to make on a daily basis, because the people around us can usually feel more connected when you're being authentic. And it's something that you're probably experiencing through the screen right now. And it's probably the reason why you're watching. And we all have a natural human tendency for positive reinforcement and seeking validation from other people. You could say that it was a survival mechanism in the past, so that you don't get isolated from your tribe, which could be life-threatening at that time. It's the reason why we subconsciously seek validation, because it feels great to be seen and acknowledged for, say, the way you look that day, or how many likes you got on that certain social media post. It somewhat fulfills that need of feeling seen and appreciated. But you cannot rely on that, because relying on other people for validation implies that your happiness is controlled entirely by how others view you, which fluctuates all the time, as us humans are fickle creatures who are constantly changing our opinions and belief systems all the time. And it's the reason why it's so important to develop this internal validation, regardless of what other people will think. And let's talk about social media, because the moment you open Instagram, all you can see is everyone else traveling and having fun. And the same thing can be said with LinkedIn, where all you can see is everyone achieving these big accomplishments and starting their new first job. And it's, for whatever reason, making you more and more miserable. And the reason for that is because you're comparing yourself to other people. You may even be comparing yourself to, say, the group of people that you went to high school with. But in my opinion, this is stupid because your reference point is completely off. Because say you've landed that job where you're making slightly more than your mates and your ambition itch is just scratched. And you're thinking, I'm good. In fact, you're actually acting out of insecurity because you just want to do a bit better than your mates and you're cashing out. And you probably don't realize that your potential is actually a lot higher if you were willing to push that far. Because the thing with comparing yourself with others is that it almost becomes this paradox where you end up having to fit in and stand out just enough to make you feel temporarily good until someone else actually takes you over. And the ideology is flawed by design because it doesn't promote self-acceptance or authenticity. It promotes being just like everyone else, but a bit better. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of striving to be perfect. Because you may develop this subconscious belief that if you were to achieve this perfection, you may finally be able to secure this respect and admiration from other people, whilst also minimizing the amount of pain that you go through in your life. It's actually an unhealthy mindset, and it's a trap that I have also fallen into myself. As the thing with perfectionism is that it's others focused and what other people think of you, in comparison to being more self-focused and just improving yourself for yourself. Now, you may be wondering, what is the solution to overcoming these insecurities? Because some people will throw out the just be confident or just be yourself advice, which is all good and all. But if it was that simple, like turning on a switch, then this issue of people having insecurities would have died down, right? And this is why I'm going to go over two main traits that I have developed, which have completely changed my life in terms of dealing with my own insecurities. And I will also go over the correct ways in which you should be displaying your insecurities to other people, where it's actually a strength and not a weakness. And now the first and most important trait of all is self-acceptance and accepting parts of ourselves which we're not really comfortable with. And this journey of the self in general is essentially a lifelong journey of self-discovery. So there's no need to rush anything, as everyone's timeline is a bit different. And everyone gets hit with certain realizations at certain periods of their life. Because as you go through different life experiences, as well as tackling those psychological issues through just thinking, whether consciously or subconsciously as you're going through your daily routine, or you may even do something like journaling, where you can physically see in written format your own thought process, which are things which will make you more at peace with yourself on what makes you you. Now, the second trait which you should pair with self-acceptance is self-respect. And the one thing different with self-respect as opposed to self-acceptance is that with self-respect, it requires a constant maintenance. And for some context, it's things like making sure you're healthy and fit, you're eating a good diet, your hygiene is on point, and you're dressing good. And you're just trying to do the best that you can with what you've got at this moment. Because taking care of yourself is a sign of respect for both yourself and those around you. It's a Tom Ford quote. And working on those insecurities, which can be worked on, like your body, for example, should give you this hope internally that things should get better over time. And those are really the two traits that you really need, to be honest. So just to repeat, it's self-acceptance and self-respect. And now the right way, in my opinion, you should be expressing your insecurities is by being vulnerable. And I do think that there is a common misconception that a lot of people have when it comes to displaying signs of vulnerability, as it's almost seen as a sign of weakness. It's almost this social mask that you have to put on to try and act cool and act like, you know, everything's going perfect in your life and there's nothing going wrong. It's a tiring act. But if you instead decided to embrace vulnerability and show people your true self, what you may think as weakness, other people will see as courage. And it's interesting to note that our idea of courage is like some firefighter who's saving a child from a burning building. But with this particular example, it's actually the extreme end of displaying courage. Because there is also something called ordinary courage, which is where you're being genuine and authentically being yourself, whilst also showcasing your vulnerabilities to the world. It's something which you have to practice on a daily basis until it becomes a part of you. It's the reason why even the most confident people that you can think of probably have insecurities and cracks in their armor, but they've just decided to accept for the flaws that they are and just go about their day. Because being vulnerable is a risk that we have to take if we want to experience connection, which is what a lot of people deep down really want at the end of the day. I appreciate you watching, and feel free to check out the videos popping up on screen if you're interested.